Welcome to It's Not About the Hair online series. My name is Valerie Fuentes. I'm your host, and today I'm with Laura Frontiero. She's a functional medicine nurse practitioner, and I invited her today due to my curiosity, to be honest with you, around what's happening now with research around gut health and hair loss. As you guys know, I have had alopecia half of my life, and I've seen many doctors. And right now, what I've been hearing is that there is a really deep connection of everything related to the gut and hair loss that I'm not, well versed. And I think Laura is going to be the right person to share with us. What's the connection and why do we have to pay attention to what's happening with our gut? So thank you, Laura, for accepting my invitation.
Thank you, Valerie. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm really happy to share what I know and support your audience and this community because, hair loss is something that's really emotional. It is, women and our hair, it's really important and we want to look beautiful. And you know what? I love the name of your show. It's not about the hair. It's not. And I love what you do to empower women to be strong through this. And really, what's really important is what's on the inside. Yeah. But if there's anything we can do in the medical realm to support prevention of this, then it's important to look at it.
Right. And I love your work on that area on the sense that I know that have helped women and men for over 20 years just by making changes on their lifestyle to improve their health. Right. I think that for me at this point, I'm not looking to regrow my hair, but I'm looking for better health. I'm looking to feel better. And I think that definitely our gut health plays a huge part of this. So yeah.
It does play a huge part. So I come from a Western medicine background, traditional allopathic medicine, worked for a big, giant health company for 20 years. And I noticed that we weren't really helping people get better. And we're really bad at autoimmune disease. We can give drugs and put Band-Aids on it, but we never can really in Western medicine get underneath it and figure out what's the cause of this and prevent. And also, help people decrease the symptoms of autoimmune diseases or get a better handle on it. And I hesitate to even say cure an autoimmune disease because that, once you have it forever, but the symptoms can become more manageable. And we don't do a good job of that in Western medicine. So over the years, as I saw people getting sicker and sicker, I knew there had to be a different way, which led me to functional medicine, which is a little bit different approach. We try to discover what's the root cause that's causing the problem. Instead of just having a symptom and a disease and putting a Band-Aid medicine on it, is there anything we can do underneath that, like deeper, to actually make quality of life better, decrease symptoms, and maybe even eliminate diseases altogether? So it's kind of a different approach. It is based in lifestyle and how we eat, how we move our bodies, how we handle our emotions and stress, what kind of water we're drinking as opposed to like tap water versus purified. Toxins is what I'm talking about. It's all encompassing every part of lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So happy to shed what I know about the link between autoimmunity and the gut microbiome.
Absolutely. So I think that we should start with explaining what is an autoimmune condition, right?
Yeah. Right. So autoimmune conditions occur when your body starts fighting itself. So this is an immune system problem, as hence autoimmunity. So what happens is your immune system gets revved up and it starts battling against your own healthy tissues. Mm-hmm. And what occurs is something like thyroiditis or multiple sclerosis or celiac disease or alopecia areata. There's so many there's over 100 autoimmune disorders known now, whereas 100 years ago there was a couple. So something has shifted and we are seeing more and more autoimmunity. So basically it's your own body fighting against itself.
Mm-hmm. Right. And so in this case for us, it's the hair, right? Like it's killing the hair.
Killing the hair follicle. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's a big connection between the gut microbiome and autoimmunity. So autoimmunity in general. Now, I will say that there is ongoing research about the link between the gut and alopecia. And right now, the answers are still unclear. But it's looking like there's some strong evidence that the gut microbiome and it being imbalanced is related to alopecia, just like it's related to many autoimmune disorders.
Right. And they're all related. It's so funny because when you were mentioning all the conditions, the autoimmune conditions, I have like 3 or 4 of them. So definitely celiac, hypothyroidism, alopecia, eczema. So
they tend to come together in groups. So psoriasis would be an autoimmune disorder. Eczema is more of an inflammatory disorder, but psoriasis, autoimmune.
Yeah. And so what is the gut microbiome?
Yeah, so this is like the big question. So the gut microbiome, it's interesting. You can think of this in many ways. So your gut microbiome lives with us and inside of us. And you've probably heard, and your audience has probably heard, that there's more microbes inside of us than human cells. Like there's 10 trillion microbes inside of us, and there's all the DNA that goes with those microbes, and that there is more genetic material in our body that actually isn't part of us because it belongs to all these bacteria. So what we've learned is we have evolved to survive and coexist together. Our microbiome cannot live without us, and we cannot live without our microbiome. So what does our microbiome do for us? So when we ingest food and it goes into our GI tract, this food needs to be broken down into smaller pieces so that it can be absorbed and used for energy in the body. So that's one thing that your gut microbiome does, is it helps break down and digest food. It's not necessarily you who's doing it. It's the gut microbiome that's working on it and makes it possible for you to then take it into the body and into the cells and move it all around where you need to be for energy. Another thing that your microbiome does is it makes vitamins. So everybody knows about biotin for hair, right? We, the human, cannot make biotin, but our microbiome can. And so there are certain gut bacteria that can actually make biotin, but we couldn't manufacture it ourselves without that. And also most biotin needs to be ingested from food. So that's just one example that would be relevant to your audience. But we make vitamins, multiple vitamins inside of our gut. The microbiome does it. We also make hormones. So when you think about hormones that make the endocrine system in your body work, many hormones are manufactured in the gut. And then think about neurotransmitters. So things like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, these help our brain function. Guess what? Most serotonin is made by your gut microbiome. So there's these good bacteria that live inside of us. There's also good yeast that lives in us, good fungus that lives in us. It's not all bad. And it lives with us and helps us survive. So really that's the function of the gut microbiome. Does that answer your question on like a simple level?
Yes, it does. Okay. And so now the follow-up to that is, how do we know that the microbiome is not functioning well, or like, something's wrong?
Yeah. So when you have a misfunctioning or poorly functioning microbiome, you're not necessarily going to have gastrointestinal symptoms. So when you think of gut, you think of things like bloating and gas and abdominal pain, and maybe, irritating bowel habits, like constipation, diarrhea, things like this. That's not necessarily what's going to happen with an imbalanced gut microbiome. The symptoms of imbalanced gut microbiome can be fatigue, can be autoimmune diseases, can be food intolerances, can be brain fogginess, weight loss resistance. I mean, as I'm saying these things, I'm sure your audience is like, oh my gosh, that's me. Because if you have alopecia, you probably have gut imbalance and you have these other things going on. So eczema, for example, you mentioned you have eczema, that's also linked to gut microbiome imbalance. Poor libido. It just goes on and on. I can almost link every human condition back to the gut microbiome. We even know now that heart disease is linked to the gut microbiome.
Okay.
So you may not have a GI symptom, so to speak, but you could have one of these other things. And if you have any of those major things, then probably there's some imbalance in your gut microbiome. And the other thing is, your audience lives in the developed world. And if we live in a first world country, we are exposed to things in our environment that hurt our gut microbiome. So unless you live in the bush and are not exposed to modern lifestyle, chances are you've got some level of imbalanced gut microbiome.
Wow. Okay. So I do have a question. How do I know that there is an imbalance? Like if I go see a functional medicine doctor or somebody like you, nurse practitioner, like what kind of tests do you do?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we can know a lot about your gut just by a health intake of health history and learn about your symptoms. I mean, I can tell a lot about you, even from just talking to you in the little bit I know. I know if I ran a gut test on you, I already have an idea of what I'm going to find just based on your symptoms. But there is a gut test, or several gut tests that can be done that are actually like a do it yourself, do it at home, submit it in the mail. Yes, you can send poop in the mail. We send you a kit. You poop at home and you send it to the lab and we find out exactly what's happening in your gut. We can tell when we do one of these tests, what's happening with the good bacteria that lives in your gut. Are they healthy? Do you have enough of them? We can see, do you have bad bacteria, or pathogenic is like the big word. Do you have pathogenic bacteria, or do you have parasites, or do you have yeast overgrowth or something else that shouldn't be there? Is your digestive system working correctly? In this gut test, we can also tell, are you breaking down fats correctly? Do you have enough digestive enzyme, pancreatic enzyme, to actually break down the food that's coming in? So the gut test gives us a lot of information about what's happening in your body. And when we have that, we can really tailor to you how to support you. We can curate a plan just for you. So we're not guessing, right? So there's this thing we like to say, test, don't guess. But even if you're not ready for a gut test, there's simple things you can do to start improving your gut microbiome right now, today, right now, when you're done watching this video. There's things you can do. So I can speak into that if that would be
supportive. You just guessed my next question. So
okay. High level is have a gut test, right? So if you're ready to like spend time and work with somebody for several months and really dig in and see what's happening there, have a gut test. If you want to dip your toe in the water, the things that you can start doing right now, add some fermented foods to your diet. So every culture, if we look back from the beginning of time and we look back, like anthropologists love this, every culture, every ancient culture, civilization on planet Earth had cultured foods in their diet. Naturally, they were already supporting their gut. So the things that you might be familiar with are Koreans have kimchi, the Japanese have miso and fermented soy. I think it's the Germans that developed kefir, which is a fermented dairy product. The Russians have kvass, like beet kvass, which is a fermented product. I mean, there's so many and now there's farmers markets everywhere, and there's Sprouts and Whole Foods, and even Trader Joe's carries fermented stuff. So you can just go to the refrigerated section, grab the Germans have kraut as well, right? So grab a kraut or some kind of ferment food, and you can throw it on top of salads. You can throw it, you can eat it with your dinner, whatever, but ferments are a really important thing that you can start adding in. The other thing you can do really simply is, I know it sounds so simple, but eat your vegetables because they're full of good bacteria. And so I'm not talking like eat your carrots, corn, and potatoes, vegetables. I'm talking like the rainbow, right? Like you want to just go into the store and try to pick, something from every color of the rainbow, bring it home, figure out how to cook it. Like grab some purple cabbage, grab some onions and some kale, and grab some yellow zucchini and chop all that up and put it in a saute together, and then eat it over, some quinoa or brown rice or something. But you've got like a whole bunch of colors there. Eat orange things, eat red things, eat yellow things. I mean, really eat your colors. Don't just be stuck on eating all greens or all, one thing. And, you're not going to get a lot from corn and potatoes. You got to eat the variety. But eating vegetables, you can actually shift your gut microbiome health in one meal. One meal.
Wow.
We can see shifts. Yes. So it's not like it's something that's going to take you forever. Just start adding these shifts. And I know there's people watching right now who don't eat enough vegetables. I know there's people who get like in this rut of eating like easy things like grains and dairy and things that are grab and go and not enough produce. Your plate should be primarily like 3/4 produce and then a little portion of protein and some sort of, wholesome grain like brown rice or quinoa, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. How about gluten? Is there any relationship? Does gluten play any role in this?
Yeah. Yeah. So for people who have celiac disease, they cannot eat gluten. It's actually poison to you. And celiac disease is an autoimmune condition. But even beyond that, there is such a thing as gluten intolerance. So when the gut is disrupted and it's not functioning properly, we can develop intolerances to things like gluten, dairy, and even the gluten can lead to disrupting the gut. There's even people who, there are functional practitioners and scientists who think gluten is just terrible. There's other people who think, a little bit of gluten, high quality, you probably will be okay once you heal the gut. I mean, you could line up 10 people and get a different opinion about this. So I like to base it on how do you feel when you eat gluten. So when I have my clients kind of eliminate that piece, like, let's just take that out and see what happens. Let's take it out for a month and see what happens. Like, anybody can do something for a month. And when they come back to me and say, my skin cleared up and my joints don't ache anymore, and I have more energy throughout the day, and I lost 5 pounds, well, we know you probably shouldn't be eating gluten, right?
Oh. Yeah.
I mean, to diagnose celiac disease, that's a whole thing. We do blood tests and a gut biopsy, and you go under conscious sedation and we biopsy and we want to look at your gut under a microscope. But you don't have to do all that stuff to figure out that gluten doesn't make you feel good. I would challenge anyone watching this, try it, see what happens. I'm personally not gluten-free. I've gotten to the point where my gut is doing really well, but I eat really high quality gluten. Like, you won't see me eat crappy gluten. I eat like artisan grain bread from a farmer, from a baker that gets their grains from an ancient grain farmer, and it's all sourdough based and it's beautiful. And then like Ezekiel bread, that has a little bit of gluten in it. It's not gluten free. You can't eat Ezekiel bread. That would be poison for you because it does have gluten in it, but that's like a high quality, right? It's sprouted, so it's easier to digest. So yeah, good question about gluten.
Of course. And so I was going to ask you, what kind of questions should we ask if we go see a functional medicine doctor? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, do I ask you different questions that I will be asking my GP?
Yeah. So when you go to a functional practitioner, be in the mindset that we're not going to just spend 10 minutes with you and prescribe a drug. So it's funny when you said, what should I ask a functional practitioner? It's kind of the other way around. We're going to ask you questions for an hour. I mean, the health history is so vital, and we want to dig deep. Like, we want to know what happened in your childhood. What was life like when you were a teenager? What traumatic experiences have you had? What, where did you live? Were you ever exposed to toxins and mold? And, what happened when you had this experience in your life? What was the thing that you noticed in your health? When this health thing happened, okay, let's dig in. What else was happening in your life at that time? So we're going to ask you, when clients come to work with me, they fill out, I'm not kidding, I don't want to scare anybody away, but I have you fill out an 18-page questionnaire so I can really know about your health, so that I can then connect the dots. And by the time we get done looking at your health, we literally plot a timeline and we can see this happened and then this happened, which led to this. And all of a sudden people say, oh my gosh, my life makes sense. I understand why all these things have happened to me now. And then we could create a plan based on your unique timeline and what's occurred. So it's funny, like, you're going to be asked a lot of questions when you see a functional practitioner, which is different than Western medicine, right? That's where I lived for 20 years, where we come in and we just want to know real quick. And you might not even tell me what your problem is. You told it to a medical assistant, right? Yep. Somebody put you in an exam room and said, what do you want to talk to the doctor about? Or what do you want to talk to the nurse practitioner about today? So they write it on a little chart and say, this person's here because of X, Y, and Z. So, oh, I see you're having blah, 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 blah. How long has that been going on? All right, here's your prescription. Bye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how it goes, right?
Yeah, it's terrible. I'm clearly, I'm not a fan, but I've let go of wanting to find solutions with Western medicine, and I'm now more focused on this type of approach because I feel it's focused on making me feel better overall, as opposed to treating a symptom, which is what you were saying.
Absolutely. And let me just say, because I still live in a functional medicine, in a traditional Western medicine world and a functional medicine world. So I'm kind of a bridge. I live between both worlds, one foot in both. But here's what we do right. if you have appendicitis or you have a broken bone, you need a Western medicine practitioner. You need an emergency room. You need a surgeon. We do that really well. We're good at emergency medicine, immediate medicine, acute medicine. What we're not good at is managing chronic conditions like your audience has.
Yeah. That can be lifelong. Absolutely. Yes. Laura, and I know you have an awesome gift for us that it's all around toxins. And I want to know, before we share with the audience what it is, why is it important to look at this?
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to share, like, if you think of your health being like a three-legged stool, where you've got three legs to that stool and you're perched on top of it. If all three of those legs are even and balanced, then you're not going to have a teetering stool. You're going to be in a good spot. It's going to be a safe spot. You're going to be healthy. You're going to be balanced. You're going to be sturdy. So those three legs of that stool are your gut microbiome, nourishing your body, and getting rid of toxins. So without that kind of three-legged approach, it's very difficult to get your health where you want it to be. And I know we haven't spent a lot of time talking about toxins, but I just want to touch on it because we talked a bit about gut. We talked a bit about healthy nutrition as related to gut. And I mean, I could talk about nourishing your body all day long. It's really important. But for toxins, we are exposed to toxins every day. Toxins come in from our makeup, from our hair products, from our body products. I mean, women put on, 400 to 1,000 chemicals a day in our body products. Our cleaning products that we use around our home, our furniture that off-gasses volatile organic compounds. We've got dirty air that has chemicals and toxins in it, plus, viruses and bacteria and fungus. We've got exposures to mold. We have water coming in that might not be purified. I touched on that right when we first started talking, the importance of purified water versus tap water. Our water's dirty. So all these toxins are coming into our body. And where do they go? They go right into our digestive system. They go right through our liver, and we can't keep up. So I want you to think of your body like an overflowing bathtub. So the toxins are coming in every way, even absorbing in our skin, through our breathing, through our food, through our everywhere. The toxins are coming in faster than we can get rid of them. So in a bathtub, you've got one little drain at the bottom with the dirty water going out the bottom. But if the water and the toxins and everything is coming in faster than that drain can drain, what happens? Disaster, right? It goes everywhere. So now you got toxins overflowing everywhere in your body. And what your body does is says, oh my gosh, where am I going to put this stuff? I can't get rid of it. And we pack it into fat cells, and then we can't lose weight. And it gets packed into joints, and then we have joint pain, and it gets in our brain, and we have neurotoxicity. And it just goes everywhere like an overflowing bathtub. So that's my soapbox about toxins. We can't heal your body if we don't address toxins. It's vital. So fortunately, there are all kinds of healthy alternatives to makeup, to hair products, to body products, to cleaning products, to even healthy alternatives for your mattress, your dry cleaning, your cookware. I mean, all of these things matter. So I've put it all into a guide where it just outlines what you need to know. And I don't think you should try to change everything in one day, because that just is overwhelming. But what I recommend you do is take a look at this guide, and what's one thing you could shift in your daily routine or in your household. And as you use things up, replace them with cleaner options. And when it comes time to buy a new mattress, you're going to know what to look for. And next time you take your dry cleaning to get it done, if we ever start wearing real clothes again, you take your dry cleaning. I swear, this is my cute shirt from Target. I love it. It has cute, it can throw it in the washing machine. It's so great. I mean, I'm all about comfort these days. No more fancy clothes. And once we start using dry cleaning again, you'll know what to look for when you take your clothes to the dry cleaner, and you're going to know what to look for when you buy cleaning products. And if you just can shift that, you are going to help your gut microbiome so much. I haven't even said the word inflammation really in this talk, but inflammation in the body. I mean, I could go on, and I want to share something. How much time do we have left? Are we done, or do you have time?
No, please go ahead. I was actually going to ask you about inflammation. Thank you.
So inflammation is like this fire burning inside of our bodies, and it's killing our gut, and it's making us sick, and the toxins that come in are fueling this fire. So of all the things that I could give your audience, and I have lots of different options when I work with people of things that can help them, I think for this group, with hair loss, starting with detoxifying their internal body and their environment is a huge step towards healing. It's a huge step, and we miss it in Western medicine. So I just want to share in my research of looking at alopecia, we know the gut microbiome is connected, and there's studies going on right now. So one study I came across, because I wanted to look up some studies to come on and talk to you about this, because, you know, I'm like broad, like microbiome. And when you said, let's talk about alopecia, I'm like, okay, let's do it. But let me learn some more about alopecia and microbiome as it relates. So there is a couple of instances where people with alopecia have had fecal transplants. Your audience may have heard of this. People who have
chronic. I've heard of it myself.
Yeah. So people, they didn't have the fecal transplant for alopecia. They had the fecal transplant because they had a chronic reoccurring infection of Clostridium difficile or C. difficile, which is a really bad gut bug that is really difficult to kill. And so one of the treatments for that is fecal transplant. So there is known evidence of 2 people who had a fecal transplant for C. diff who had hair regrowth, who had alopecia. So that's one thing, and that is straight, you know, gut microbiome. There also is a study, there's also studies going on with mice right now where they found a strain of bacteria in the gut that actually is linked to causing hair loss. And when they put that strain of bacteria into the mice are more likely to lose hair. And when they have mice without that bacteria, they're less likely. So I just want to share with your audience that there is a lot of research going on right now. Like, there's some crazy number of amount of published studies that come out every single day on the gut microbiome, and it's in the hundreds around the world. It's literally the hottest topic.
It is.
So it is. So for your people with alopecia that are watching, get yourself a functional medicine practitioner. If I resonate with you, get on my schedule and talk to my team. If you want to do a gut rebalancing program, I have one. We work together for 3 months. We do a gut test. We look deeply at your gut microbiome. You can go to chatwithlaura.org and get on our calendar. Just let us know that you came from Valerie, and we'll know exactly, you know, how you got into our audience. It'd be awesome to support you. Get that toxin guide that Valerie will give you a link to it, and start working on those toxins. And know that there's absolute hope for you. Absolute. There's one thing that I absolutely believe is, no matter where you are at in your health journey, no matter where you are at, there is room to heal yourself. There is room to grow. The human body is extraordinary. And if you give it what it needs and you take away what it doesn't need, your body can restore itself. Absolutely.
Thank you, Laura. That was really powerful, and it totally aligns with me. Like, I totally received your information, and I'm so grateful that you were sharing that with us, because I've lost hope. Like, I did lose hope, and now with everything I'm hearing and everything I'm learning, because I also love to read, and I do have hope. Like, now that I'm hearing you, I feel so much better, because I know change is coming. And I also want to say that I've talked to somebody that went through the fecal transplant that you shared, and that worked for her. Like, that's all I can share with you. I don't want to speak for anybody, but there are things, and they are working. So I think that, we get to be vigilant with our health, and like what we put in our mouth is so important, and make all the changes that we get to change so we feel better, right? Like, that's the overall goal here, is to feel better. It's not about the hair, it's about feeling better.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, Laura, so much. We are gonna, like you said, we're gonna have a gift for you, so make sure to check that out. It's gonna be under the interview. And if you want to work with Laura, absolutely follow her. I'll be sharing all her contact information. So thank you, everyone, and I will see you on the next interview.